We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We talk about everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to. And make sure you ring that notification bell. If you want to support this independent national college football's rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel, just hit that $sign where you make your comment and I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio. The studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Tonight, we're just going to talk. We're just going to talk. I'm going to open up the phone lines earlier than I usually do. I'm not going to go through any articles. I'm not going to get on a soapbox for a long time. I'm not going to vent. I'm just going to relax. We are relaxing this evening because drama is right around the corner at college football's peak around the corner. We are going to do a spotlight on the Utah Utes tonight. We are going to do a spotlight on the Utah Utes tonight. A couple of nights ago, we did the BYU Cougars. Yesterday we did the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But today is the Utah Utes. And I hope for those who watched the live program yesterday, I hope you all had a little bit of fun. We did something stupid, but I thought it was, look, we're trying to breathe easy right now because some dramatic stuff is going to happen this week. I do not know what's on the Cantwell Cruises bill. But I gotta be honest. The poking that and no, I have been told one thing. That is believed to be certain, and that is all of these commissioners have it in their hands. They know what is in it. They know what is in it. And maybe they have some questions, like the Big Ten and the SEC. Maybe they have some questions they need clarification on. But doesn't it get everybody a little worried? A little worried that the SEC and the Big Ten has not come out and totally support this Cruz Cantwell bill? 26 commissioners have. Maybe 28 now, maybe 30, I don't know. Do you think 26 commissioners would have come out and supported this bill without reading it? Without knowing at least the bullet points of it? Do you think 26 commissioners read this bill, but the Big Ten and the SEC have not? And that's why the SEC and the Big Ten has not come out and supported this bill? And I know there's some of you saying, well, Greg, I don't even want this. I don't know what's in this bill, but I don't want it to pass. I want the Southeastern Conference to break away. I want the Big Ten to break away. I want complete and total chaos. Be careful what you wish for, my friends. Be careful what you wish for. We've already got a super chat coming in from the ECU Pirate, Kenneth Maynard. Congrats to ECU Baseball for winning either the American regular season or the tournament championship for the 8th straight season. Congratulations. Congratulations. $5 holler. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Congratulations to the ECU Pirate baseball team. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for the support. Thank you for your generosity. I appreciate it. Thank you for starting us off this evening. $5 holler, ECU Pirates once again doing some good stuff in the American. I also see Sun Devil Ager in here. Now, I spent a couple of hours being a caretaker for my mother today. And she was watching the Texas A&M Aggies versus the Arizona State Sun Devils. And I believe that was an elimination game. And I believe Arizona State scored at home. The umpire made the right call. It was safe. The catcher was not able to place the tag. It was 5-1 Arizona State. Now, first of all, did Arizona State win that game? Did they advance? Did they get out of the Texas A&M Aggies regional? And of course, there is a chance that that game was played yesterday and my mom was watching a replay because she doesn't really know. But anyways, what happened? Did Arizona... Okay, so the Sun Devils did go in advance. Congratulations to the Arizona State Sun Devils. Congratulations. 9-1. Okay. All right. And that game was today. Appreciate it. Nothing on the Cruz Cantwell bill. Not yet. Not yet. However, Greg needs therapy. Rock and Rant, that is the most accurate comment that will be commented in the chat room tonight. Right there. Rock and Rant is the most accurate comment there possibly can be. Greg needs therapy. Greg is not going to get therapy because I'm not going to let anybody come into this mind of mine. Nobody is coming on in here. MBM, silo up. Edward the Auburn Tiger. I think MBM is being facetious, a little bit sarcastic. I'm not sure. Edward the Auburn Tiger. We are entering a new era of college football. The breakaway is coming. So there are people out there, a lot of people out there, that want this chaos. They want Sankey and Petiti to reject this bill. And I tell you what, guys, I am getting more than a little worried. I was worried over a year ago. I was worried 6 months ago when we said it was DEFCON 1. Because the implications of this, I really, really think, okay, so all over X, everybody's having the discussions on the college football playoffs. The battle between 24, 16, 12. Everyone's having their conversations about it. Everyone's arguing over it. You do see the poll numbers starting to creep up, though. The playoff of 24 teams, the numbers are starting to get a little higher in these polls. I would say they're in the small, the low, like 11, 12, 13, 14. I saw a big poll out there that the playoff of 24 teams was at 15%. I did a poll. It had 52 votes, and it was 57% in favor of the college football playoffs of 24. But again, that poll was taken deep in college football peek around the corner country. And look, we're just talking. Tonight we're just talking. All right, we're going to do the Utah Youth Spotlight, but we're just talking. But let me tee it up for you. Look, there is valid arguments to go to 16-team playoffs versus 24. Especially a very good valid arguments to do that, to try that before you go to the 24-team playoffs. I think there are valued arguments for that. I understand. You do not want to devalue the regular season. But every time in my brain, the original Minnesota moron's brain, I keep imagining what we're going to be watching, what we're going to be interested in. And I just don't see the regular season being devalued. I see some particular games possibly being devalued just a little bit. I can understand that. But to me, it is offset by way more games having value. Here, we're going to get to your phone calls. I promise you. This show is going to be mostly on phone calls. your chat. Of course, super chat supersede the chat. But I want to hear what you guys got. You know what I think. You know, because we are heading into a very dramatic a couple of weeks. This week is Big Ten meetings. The next week is SEC meetings. And before we get to the breakaway stuff, let's talk about the college football playoffs. Paul Feinbaum. Let me get to Paul Feinbaum in a moment. We have a very kind super chat from the Purple and Gold. Careful what you wish for. Jeez, all it got was a 5-mile restraining order from Haley Bailey. My wishes are only worth $5. Thank you, OPT Dunn. Thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. All I got was a 5-mile restraining order. That's not all that much of a punishment. Anyways, thank you, OPD Dunn. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Purple and Gold. Thank you for your generosity as always. Thank you for all your support to our program. Thank you very much. We've got Helmer Hennessy heading for more and more mulligans. Helmer Hennessy is not for the 2014 playoff. Thank you for the $2 holler, Helmer Hennessy. Thank you, Opie. Thank you, Helmer. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Paul Feinbaum. Now, Hammer Hennessy, I know you're really, I know, look, there's a lot of really, really good people in the chat room, in the PATC family, who have great arguments to be against the 2014 playoffs. But let's get to the details of this. Paul Feinbaum on ESPN Get Up show says that the 2014 playoffs is going to be the most terrible thing that's ever happened, going to destroy the college football regular season. And then the first thing he said was, college football is not like the NFL. Teams are not positioning themselves for the seeding and for a home game. He says something to that extent. And if I was an ESPN host, I would have been fired, because I would have barged right in there and I said, whoa, Paul. The reason why college football hasn't been that way is because we've never had it this way. I mean, are people really believing that teams are not going to be fighting for their positioning going down the home stretch? Let me give you an example. You're going to have a 9-2 Tennessee Volunteer team. 9-2, okay? Ranked 13th in the country. They're on the road. They're playing Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is 6-5. And if Tennessee loses that game, they're still in the playoffs, right? They're going to be 9-3, and they're going to be seeded 17, 18, 19, 20. So everyone's argument is this game don't mean anything no more, because if Tennessee loses, they're still in the playoffs. Great. If they win, then they're in the playoffs. Are people really trying to tell me that Tennessee is not going to be interested in winning that game in the 2014 playoffs? Tennessee is on the road in this imaginary scenario. Tennessee is on the road against Vanderbilt. If they lose, they're probably going to be on the road in the first round of the playoffs starting the next week Remember the playoffs, 2014 playoffs, going to start right away. And if they win, they're going to have a first round home game. And who knows, maybe if there's a bunch of losses ahead of them, get a first round bye. Of course, teams are going to be teams are always going to be looking at their rankings. Every single week, they're going to be looking at their rankings. They're going to see who's ahead of them and who they're playing, who's behind them and who they're playing, how they can move up, how they can get left behind. No healthy player is going to sit out these games. No healthy players are going to sit out these games. That rivalry game is not less valuable because it's a 2014 playoffs. With all due respect, I do not get this argument. And I've talked to Uncle Lou, Don Scruggs, Uncle Lou. I love his YouTube channel. Does a great job with those watch parties. Georgia Bulldogs, Uncle Lou. I got in with them again on Twitter today. I really do not understand their arguments. I don't understand. A lot of it I do not understand. They believe that the regular season, that none of these games are going to matter because there's going to be a certain amount of teams that know they're in the playoffs. But that's a small number of teams that absolutely know they're in the playoffs. What about all the other teams? And I brought up this example. Southeastern Conference baseball, right? The top baseball in the country. Beautiful college baseball stadiums. A lot of tickets sold during the regular season. More than anywhere else. Why? Why are there more tickets sold in Southeastern Conference baseball during the regular season? Because 12 out of the 16 SEC baseball teams are going to make it into the playoffs. So according to the logic that people are telling me about a 2014 football playoff, people are saying, why would there be so much interest in Southeastern Conference baseball relative to all the other baseball that's played out there when you've got 12 out of the 16 going to be making the tournament anyways? And then I'm told, well, baseball is just a different sport than football. The interest of college football regular season is it's not going to go down because there's 24 teams in it in the playoffs. We are going to be arguing. Now, before when it was a 14 playoffs, we were arguing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and after that, no one really had a shot to get in the playoffs at the end. In a 12-team playoffs, we're arguing a whole lot more stuff. There is more drama in a 12-team playoffs than a 14 playoff. And you remember the argument of a 14 playoff versus 12-team was, hey, you can't have the 8th seed, 9th seed, 10th seed, 11th seed get into the playoffs because they have no chance of winning. They have no chance of winning. Well, that argument is gone. That argument is destroyed. That argument doesn't exist anymore. Because we had Miami almost win the whole damn thing last year. So that's not important anymore. 12-team playoffs created so much more drama, so many more storylines, including the G6 storylines on who was going to be the G6 representative. The 12-team playoffs have worked. The only reason we got to increase the playoffs is because college football has dramatically changed since we created the 12-team playoffs. You can't sit here and talk about the dramatic changes of college football and then say, but we don't have to change the playoffs. That doesn't make any logical sense. Every week we got Kirk Herbstreit, we've got Reese Davis, we've got Urban Meyer. We've got all these talking heads explaining to us things we already know of how much college football has changed, but yet that same talking heads, I don't know about Urban Meyer, but the other ones at ESPN, they don't believe the college football playoff should change. It doesn't make any sense. The talent is more spread out. I got a whole bunch of people telling me, Greg, the problem isn't that Miami might not have made the playoffs if if they would not have made the playoffs if BYU would have beat Texas Tech in the Big 12 game. But I've been told many times here in the last 24 hours, that's not the problem, Greg. If the committee would only do their job, we would have the right 12 teams in. And Miami should have been in anyways. Even if BYU would have won that game. Come on. It doesn't make, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make any sense. There's nobody who can sit here. There is no magical bullet to get the best 12 teams into the playoffs. It's too difficult to decide who the best 12 is. Sorry. It's just the way that is just the way it is. It's too difficult. You got certain teams playing in different conferences, imbalanced schedules. You got some teams that are coming through some injuries early in the season. They're coming on strong. And then we got the whole notion of, well, Notre Dame did not deserve to be in the playoffs, Greg. They lost the first couple of games. They didn't beat anybody. I mean, BYU sitting there at 11-1. 11-1 BYU. And ESPN, before they played their Big 12 championship game, and ESPN puts up a graphic, and they're having a comparison graphic, and they didn't even include BYU. 11-1 BYU, they were snuffed out of the playoffs. Why? Because they lost to a very good Texas Tech Red Raider game. 11-1, and ESPN could not even put a BYU graphic up on the screen. And I'm being told that college football has the best regular season in sports. What are you smoking? What are you smoking? There's something wrong about the sport. There's nothing wrong with the sport. Well, there is. But there's something wrong with the college football playoffs. If you have a program that has been down for how many decades? How many decades? Vanderbilt Commodores, led by Diego Pavia, which is very paralyzing quarterback. But they go 10-2 and they can't make it in. The talent has spread out. The games are more unpredictable. You can't tell me who the best 12 are. You can't tell me who's going to make the run to the championship. Other than Hurricane fans, I had nobody telling me that Miami was going to be one play away from winning it all. Nobody was telling me that. Football has changed dramatically. But we're going to keep the same playoffs because it's absurd. It's pathetic that we expand the playoffs to match the uncertainty of what's going on in college football. Make it make sense. And then the argument of the participation trophies. If you're going to have a 24-team playoffs, if you're going to have a 24-team playoffs, you're just handing out participation trophies. Someone's got to explain that to me. Bowl games are participation trophies. Bowl games are participation trophies. Bowl games. Not playoff games. Bowl games. So if you want the traditional bowl games to be alive and have a 4-team, 8-team, 12-team playoffs, don't be talking about participation trophy games not meaning anything. Again, you're just shooting your own foot. You're destroying your own argument. Bowl games are participation trophies. And I have no problem with bowl games, but you should not use that phrase. I don't know what you're doing. Great. There should not be a 9-3 football team in the playoffs. All right, well, what about the SEC? And I love you, SEC fans. I love every one of you. But you made a big argument that Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss should have made the playoffs 2 years ago. All three of those teams were 9-3. Okay, great. Okay, great. Forget about 9-3. Great. There should be no 8-4 team in the playoffs. There should be no 8-4 teams in the playoffs. What if, in theory, it could happen? What if the SEC produces a bunch of 9-3, 8-4 teams? What if they beat up each other? Remember, the 5-star and the 4-stars is being more spread out than ever before. What if it just so happens that the SEC has 9-3, 8-4 teams? And the Big Ten has 9-3, 8-4 teams. And the ACC and the Big... None of those teams are worthy to go to the playoffs? So you're just looking at the record? I thought we weren't supposed to look at the record. Remember, the SEC team 9-3 could be way better than 11-1 SMU, and they should be over SMU, right? But now the record is important. We can't have any 8-4 teams in the playoffs. Nobody is really sticking to their arguments, are they? I understand people having fear that the regular season is going to get devalued. The regular season has never made college football great. College football is great because it has the most history, passion, pageantry, and it is our school, it is our state, it's our region. That is what made college football the best sport in this country, in my opinion. It's never been about the regular season. Most teams are eliminated in the history of college football. Most teams are eliminated from national title contention after the second and third week of the season. That regular season was so important, though, so meaningful, even though most of us were eliminated because we got to go to a bowl game. We got to get to a bowl game. Those are the most meaningful regular seasons. They were meaningful not because of the BCS or playoff format. They were meaningful because we love college football. But once you put your toes in the water, once you've expanded the playoffs, and we had to, we started paying the student athletes. More and more money is being invested in football. Once we've expanded the playoffs from 4 to 12 teams, it had the effect on the bowl system. Nobody respects the bowl system anymore. I mean, look, guys, I see it every single year on this YouTube channel. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. And I have not used this example on X yet. Every time I have mentioned, when I'm doing my Golden Gopher propaganda, which I've been known to do, to prop up my guys, prop up my Golden Gophers. I can't sit here and talk about a playoff bid. My Golden Gophers have not made a playoff, right? 2019, they got kind of close, but no cigar. But I've sat here and I said, you know who's got the longest bowl winning streak in college football? Minnesota Golden Gophers. 9-0, baby. 9-0. Do you know what PJ Fleck's record is as head coach of the Golden Gophers in bowl games? 7-0. 7-0. You know, every time I mention that, you know what is in the chat room? You know what is said in the chat? Who cares? Who cares? It don't mean nothing. You go on these small bowl games and you win in these participation trophy games. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. The fans do not care. They used to care about going to the Citrus Bowl. They used to care about going to all these bowls. But once the playoff have expanded, the value of the bowl games have decreased. Not all the way, but some they have. Even with the devalued bowl game, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of I'm gonna explain to you what a Golden Gopher thinks about during the season. Okay, the Golden Gophers, who've been a little bit above average in the Big Ten since PJ Fleck's been there, record-wise, everything else, but they have not sniffed the top. But they've been a little bit above average in the Big Ten. This is what a Golden Gopher thinks about during the season. It used to be about trying to get the 6 wins to get to a bowl game. Now that PJ Fleck is here, it would be nice if we could avoid going to Detroit. Nothing against Detroit, but the bowl game sucks. It would be nice if we could avoid going to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl because it is god-awful to play in that baseball stadium in the state of Arizona. It would be nice if we could avoid the Pinstripe Bowl because we want to go somewhere warm. It would be nice. So we're looking at the records. We're seeing if we can hop over a few Big Ten teams. That is what a Golden Gopher thinks about during the regular season. That's what a lot of college football fans think about in the regular season. Okay? When they are 6-3, when they are 6-2, they're thinking about the positioning of the bowl games. But wouldn't it be nice for a whole bunch of college football fans to be thinking, playoffs. We might be able to get to the playoffs. We might be able to do it. We're getting better. Our freshman quarterback is getting better. He was really bad in week 1 and week 2, but we're pretty good right now. We just upset a top 15 team. Wouldn't that brings more value to the regular season? I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to get to the Utah spotlight, and then we're going to open up the phone lines. I agree with those that want to keep it to 12 college football playoff, 12 teams in the playoffs. I agree with one argument that you're making. Some games are going to be more valuable in a 12-team. More games in the regular season are going to be more valuable in a 12-team playoff format versus a 24-team college football playoff format. Some games are going to be more valuable. They're going to decrease in value in a 24-team playoffs format. but way more games are going to increase in value. I do not believe for a second. And if you could all lead me to believe this, then I would flip on my position here. I do not believe for a second that if we go to a 2014 playoff, now this is what I do believe. If we go to a 2014 playoff, after week 3, after week 4, people are going to be like, this is the rankings. It's not going to be top 25. It's probably going to be top 30. People are going to be looking at the positioning of the rankings, not 1 through 12, but 1 through 25, 1 through 30. Every loss that a 15 seed has, and then they jump to the 25 or jump to 28, that is going to be recognized. We're going to be watching each other more than ever. Nobody's going to be saying, hardly anybody. Hardly anybody's going to be saying, oh, we lost that week, but you know what? It's a 2014 playoffs. That game doesn't matter. We're okay. Every single week when ESPN and Fox and ABC and CBS, when they put the games up for the week, they're going to be talking about more games. When it comes to playoff rankings, playoff seeding, who is going to have that first round home game, 9 seed through 16 seed? Who's going to have that first round bye, second round home game, 1 through 8? Who's going to slip out of the top 8? Who's going to slip out of the top 16? Who's going to slip out of the top 24? Who's going to jump in within 17 through 24? Who's going to jump in between 9 through 16? Who's going to advance himself and jump in through 1 through 8? That is what we're going to be talking about week in, week out, week in, week out. I have to say this in the most kindly way I can say it. I do not believe the argument that all these games are going to be meaningless. I do not believe that at all. The college football fan are not going to treat any of the, there's going to be a few of them, but most games are going to be treated even more valuable than ever before by more fan bases across the country. We're just talking here. We're just talking. And then later in the program, and I love you Big Ten fans. I love you SEC fans. I love you. I love you. I love you. But be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for on this breakaway. I have fear in my heart. The SEC and the Big Ten haven't spoken up yet. They have not supported this Cruz Cantwell bill yet. And the Big Ten starts the meeting tomorrow. I love ya. Tomorrow. It starts tomorrow. And you know the questions are going to be coming. The fireworks could start tomorrow. If they don't start tomorrow, they're going to start sometime this week. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Big Ten and the SEC are going to say, oh, this is great. This is fantastic. We support it. We support it. Let's get it done. Let's go. But they haven't yet. Their reaction to this was different than the Big 12 and the ACC. Now, maybe, just maybe, the reaction to it is different because they're slower readers. They have more lawyers. Or is there parts of that bill that doesn't work for us, brother? College football dramatic days ahead. We are in the jungle, baby. We are in the jungle. And what happens next, I do not know, but we're going to follow all of it here at College Football's Peak Around the Corner. And I know there's a lot of different opinions in the PATC family. I welcome all of them. We all come from different walks of life. We all come from different regions. We all have a different history from one another. We've got OBD done. Massive super chat. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. OBD done. If they sit in the pros, then you damn well better believe they will in college, especially if the coaches get $100,000 to win a championship. There are 308 Division I baseball teams. That's 64 spots. To get to 8 College World Series spots, that's 21.5% make it. Baseball is so different from football. Thank you, OBD Don. Thank you for the $50 holler. OBD Don has not joined the Army of 24 yet. He has not joined the Army of 24. Baseball is different than football. And my comparison might have been a little clumsy. It is apples and oranges. But SEC country, they love their baseball. It's interesting to them. And just because they have 12 or 16 teams that go to the college football playoff, college baseball playoffs, that doesn't bring down the interest of the SEC conference play. That was what I was trying to say. Do players sit in pros? Yes, they do. Are they going to sit in college football? Okay, let's say that happens. Let's say that Jeremiah Smith does sit. He's not going to sit the Michigan game. But let's say he sits the week before. Because the Buckeyes are 9-1. And even if they lose week 11 and week 12, they go 9-3, they're still going to get in the playoffs. He's not going to sit that Michigan game. Does that destroy college football? Does that make it worse? That much worse? Because he's going to play in the playoffs, right? I mean, we got guys leaving. We've got guys completely bowing out before the bowl games. Right? If we have a 2014 playoffs, do we think people are just going to leave to go to the NFL draft and not even play in a playoff game? Because if that is where we are, then we've got more serious issues. I still think more fans for a longer period of time and players are going to be interested in playing and watching and spending money on college football under 2014 playoffs. You know, in this day, like, are there more players sitting out at the end of the season now because their team can't make to the playoffs? Thank you, Opie. Thank you for the $50 holler. But a lot of people agree with Opie. A lot more people agree with Opie than agree with me. That is for sure. I do think the numbers are starting to move just a little bit, but I don't think I'm ever going to be in the majority. We've got, thank you, OBD Don, for the massive super chat. Thank you very, very kindly, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for your incredible generosity. You really have helped us. Very humbled, OBD Don. I'm very humbled by your generosity. Thank you. Kenneth Maynard, undefeated ECU, South Florida or Boise could host a first round game. It does add value in the 2014 playoff of the G6. Every game in the G6 would matter. Not only that, but you got teams that would host a first round game, 9th seed through 16th seed. I mean, look at the 12-team playoffs now. The top 4 teams don't even get to host the game. And they're not going to be able to host the game because the 6 bowl games are going to be the quarterfinals and the 2 semifinals. The bowl games that ESPN owns, that they shoehorn into the quarterfinals and semifinals. The 12-team playoff format doesn't allow the top 4. You're talking about de-incentivized teams. Logically, that doesn't make any sense. Why would 5 through 9 get to host a first round, 5 through 8, get to be able to host a home game in the playoffs, and 1 through 4 cannot? But you know what? Doesn't look like they can change it. And then you get to a 16-team playoffs. The people that Greg Sankey is not supporting, unless they flip it here, the proposal is not 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15, 3 versus 14. The 16-team playoffs is a double bye. The top 2 seeds get a double bye. A double bye. Is that what people want? A double bye? Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you for the $5 holler. I very much appreciate it. Helmer Henderson, ranking teams will be more subjective, not objective. Well, they're always going to be, I mean, yes, that's what rankings are. They're going to be done by the playoff committee. Now, we could do a Q model. We could do an AQ model. We might end up with an AQ model because the SCCs, we'll talk about that later. But, so we have 6 at-large teams or 8 at-large teams. But right now, the Southeastern Conference wants as many at-large teams as possible. So Tony Petitti has got it 23 plus 1. 23 at large, 1 for the G6. Yes, going to be very, and it's going to be more difficult than ever. The Southeastern Conference is going to have more losses. They're going to have 8 more losses onto the records because they're going from 8 conference games to 9 conference games. But we've got a better chance of scooping up the true best 12 teams, the true best 16 teams if we go to a 2014 playoffs. In my opinion. Instead of what we currently have. Thank you, Hammer Henderson. Thank you very much. Hammer Henderson, if you can't beat Texas Tech, you can't expect to win the national championship. $2 holler. Okay? If you can't beat Texas Tech, you can't expect to win the national championship. Well, here's my answer to that. Thank you for the comment. Appreciate it. I very much appreciate it, sir. None of us truly know how great Texas Tech was before they did the playoff rankings, the last playoff rankings. Texas Tech was 11-1? Correct? BYU's only loss was to Texas Tech. Correct? Hold on a second. This is so this is Miami last year. Miami lost to Louisville 21-24. They lost to SMU 26-20. Was that our response about Miami? Did we say that Miami, you can't expect Miami to win the national championship if they lost to SMU and they lost to Louisville? But you know what? They almost did win the championship, right? If Carson Beck would not have underthrown that pass, they very well could have won the championship. Why is college football the one sport that we watch that we do not give any grace to anybody, to any team? We want to eliminate teams so quickly, so fast in college football. We're not like that with any other sport. Why are we like that in college football? Especially in the day and age where the talent is so much more spread out, where you're having these big roster turnouts, where you're changing 30, 40, 50 guys a year. You're not the team usually at the start of the year than you are at the beginning of November. This is why we don't want to play big non-conference games at the beginning of the season, because we want to eliminate everybody so quickly. We keep talking about how Indiana doesn't play anybody. Why should they play anybody if everyone is so quick to eliminate teams at the beginning of the season? This makes the regular season more valuable, more interesting. Eliminating as many people, as many teams as quickly as possible makes the season more valuable. Again, I don't get it. I want to get the argument. I want to understand it. The one part I understand is some games are going to be less valuable in a 2014 playoffs. But there's going to be way more games valuable in a 2014 playoffs versus today, in my opinion. Thank you, Hammer Henderson. Thank you for the $2 holler. And we've got ourselves a super chat. OBD done. Whether I want the 24 college football playoff or not, it will happen when the right people get their money. Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree. There is no way we're going, look, I don't care how, again, this is my opinion, OPD Don, Helmer Henderson, my opinion. I don't care how many SEC coaches. Now, I want a lot of them to come out, okay? I want a lot of them to come out and say I support the 2014 playoffs. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter how many SEC coaches come out and support it. It doesn't matter how many athletic directors come out and support a college football playoffs of 24 teams. What matters is the right people get their money, like Opie says. ESPN is going to have some more securities around this. They're probably going to have to be given a couple more playoff games. The SEC is going to have to get more money out of this. They're going to have to get more money out of it. I'm a true believer in that. And they could do it a couple of different ways. Somebody's going to have to get paid on the SEC side, some way, somehow, for this to happen. That's one of the reasons why there are some people now in Big 12 country and ACC country that are thinking, well, maybe we should not do this. I listened to John Kurtz, great, just a great YouTube channel, great guy, very smart. He's against the 2014 playoffs. He does not trust the Big Ten's motives. I don't blame him because they've got ulterior motives. We did a live show on that. It will happen if the right people get the right money. OPD done said it a lot better than I've ever could have said it. Thank you, Opie. Thank you for the $10 holler. Thank you for that. Exactly correct, in my opinion. Helmer Henderson, referring to BYU not getting into the playoffs last year. $2 holler. But again, going into the Big 12 championship game, BYU was 11-1. They had one loss to the Red Raiders. Right? They had one loss to the Red Raiders. We were not sure if the Red Raiders were the best team in the country, the second best team in the country, the third best team in the country, the fourth best team in the country. BYU lost to Texas Tech. And before they played that Big 12 championship game, they were completely eliminated by ESPN. They were. Forget about the time where they didn't even put BYU up on the graphics. They rarely talked about BYU at all. Why? They've only lost one game, and that one game could have been to the best team in the country. Now, it turned out that the Red Raiders were not the best team in the country. But BYU, man, they were punished just because they were in a Big 12 conference. So when people say this regular season is so important versus a 2014 playoff regular season, the BYU example is like, no, man. BYU did almost everything perfect last year. But the regular season, when it comes to playoff contention, did not mean a whole lot. But those games that they played, the miraculous victories, the comeback victories, would have meant a whole lot if BYU could have had a first round home game in Provo, Utah for the sensational season that they had, losing only 2 games to the very good Red Raiders team. Why are we so quick to want to eliminate really good teams? Don't we want them in the drama? Don't we want those fans in the drama of a playoff run? Don't we want to... We've got all this money flowing into college football. We've got to get these football players paid. We've got all this investment. We've got all these collectives. But yet we just want to cut everybody's legs out from under them to make the regular season so important. For a lot of us, we're not getting the benefit of the doubt. We're not getting the benefit of the doubt. In 2019, my beloved Golden Gophers were 8-0. 8-0. They're going to play the Penn State Nittany Lions, who were 8-0. 2019. Look it up. Do you know where the Gophers were ranked going into that football game by the playoff committee? The 4-team playoff. There's going to be 4 teams in the playoff. Do you know where the Golden Gophers were ranked 8-0, a Big Ten team? They were ranked 18th. It was the lowest ranking of any 8-0 team in the history of the playoffs rankings for a Power 4 conference team. My beloved Golden Gophers were 18th, for God's sakes. Penn State was number 4. What happened next? The Gophers beat Penn State. We were 9-0, and we moved up to 8. We didn't get the benefit. We got no benefits that year. We would have never made the playoffs 14. We would have had to go 13-0 to make a 14 playoffs. We would have had to go. That regular season was magnificent. It would have been even more magnificent if we could have qualified for a playoff. Some of this stuff, none of us, there is no access point for a lot of us. For some of you, for Don Scruggs, for OBD Don, yes, the access is there at 8 teams. The access is at 4. The access is at 12. But some of us, we're not going to get the, BYU's not going to get the, BYU, Utah, there's so many teams out there. Their regular seasons are not more valuable in a 12-team, 18, 14 playoffs versus a 24-team playoffs. For more fans, for more teams, I'm talking, the majority. This is the Army of 24. This is the Army of 24. Thank you, Helmer Henderson. Thank you for your generosity. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. We'll get to the Utah. We'll get to the Utah spotlight right now. Indiana's national championship was more special than Ohio State's national championship. Herb Brooks' U.S. championship was special because extra diff. I don't quite understand that one. Thank you for the $2 holler, though. I do appreciate it, Helmer Henderson. Herb Brooks, thank you very much. Thank you for the $2 holler. Okay, let me check out the comments here. I'm sure I'm getting absolutely blasted. Disdain was redefined in 2023 by ESPN's treatment of Florida State. Hello, Mad Gopher, Lady Huskies, Super Regional for the first time in your history. Congratulations. Kenneth Maynard, ESPN was like BY who? Okay, all right. Let's get to the Speaking of BYU. Rich Austin, let's relax on the religious stuff here. Rich Austin, let's cool it. You can throw an elbow at the football team. But let's not talk about religious persecution and everything. It's just everybody tone it down a bit. Tone it down just a little bit. Okay. We're talking BYU football. I saw what you said. BYU would just bitch and moan about religious persecution. But then they'll die off, and we don't need to go there. Just rip on their football team. That would be okay. Let's get to the Utah Utes. Speaking of Rich Austin's Utah Utes, spotlight. The Utah Utes. Now, I did have them in my way too early order of finish prediction. The Utah Utes, number 3 in the Big 12, behind BYU and Texas Tech. It all starts with this man. Devin Dampier, the quarterback. The transfer from New Mexico a year ago, 2,490 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 63.5 completion percentage, 146.8 quarterback rating. Another 835 yards rushing, 5.7 average per rush, 10 rushing touchdowns. Devin Dampier Now that's a pretty good quarterback rating. It would have been even higher, but Devin Dampier's yards per passing attempt was low. The one thing that Devin Dampier could not do is he could not stretch the field. And you saw that in the BYU game. I loved that BYU-Utah football game. That was a very good football game. I loved it. The difference was BYU crept up at the line of scrimmage. They were starting to jump in passing lanes. They were saying basically, Devin Dampier, beat us long. If you can't beat us long, you're not going to beat us short. So this year, we are hoping to see Devin Dampier make some big passing plays downfield to keep the defense honest. I think that's the one thing that he's got to improve upon to help that pretty good Utah offense out. What a running game last year. What a running game. Look, Devin Dampier, 835 yards rushing, right? 835. But look at Bert Ficklin. Bert Ficklin, what is going on with this young man? Freshman quarterback. He was a 3-star, right? Mid 3-star. 301 yards passing. 60% completion percentage. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I got him quarterback, running back. But he ran for 513 yards last year. 8.4 average per rush. 10 rushing touchdowns. My goodness. Bert Ficklin, it's going to be very interesting in Salt Lake City when this man takes over the quarterback position full time. He's a very interesting player. And I can see why the Utes get all excited when they talk about Bert Ficklin. If you bring up Devin Dampier, they always make sure to bring up Bert Ficklin. Always. What about the transfer from Washington State over a year ago? Weishan Paka. Well, he had a very good year at Utah. Again, look at those yards rushing. Utah reminds me of Notre Dame. All those yards rushing, high average per rush. 6.6 average, 6 rushing touchdowns, 13 receptions, 185 yards receiving, 14.2 average, 3 receiving touchdowns. Weishan Paka. He had no problem acclimating himself from Washington State to the Utah Utes in Big 12 football. This year could even be a bigger year. Wild Ute. Dampier had 2 sports hernias suffered in Game 3 versus Wyoming. Couldn't drive the ball afterwards. Utes have the best quarterback, running back, wide receiver combo that I can recall in the last decade. Offensive line quality is the question. Well, I'm going to put up a receiver here, Wild Ute, that maybe you probably think maybe I should not put up. But I'm interested in this guy because I thought he was going to have a good career at UCLA. But he did nothing for the Bruins. He did absolutely nothing. So he went on to play for the Utah State. And that is Braden Pagan. 60 receptions, 926 yards, 15.4 average per reception, 5 receiving touchdowns. Braden Pagan, Utah State, big-time player last year. I'm sure while you didn't think I was going to bring up this man, but I wanted to bring up a transfer player. I always try to bring up a transfer player. Dampier, Ficklin, Weishan Parker, they all played at Utah last year. So we're bringing up the Utah State Aggie, Braden Pagan, wide receiver, defensive player. There's quite a few that I could have went with. But I went with this man, Jackson Bene. 43 solo tackles as a safety. 64 combo, 4 interceptions. Now, go look at the tackling numbers for safeties across the country. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. You're not going to see these numbers, especially out of the young man like this. 43 solo tackles. Pick 6 during the season. Jackson Bene, big time safety for the Utah Utes. Now looking at their football schedule. Idaho, Arkansas. This is going to be a very interesting game. Utah should win this game. Arkansas, when we do the spotlight on Arkansas, it's going to be very difficult for me not to push them at the bottom of the Southeastern Conference. I'm starting to believe that Arkansas might come in 16th out of 16th. I don't have them 16th now. But after looking at my first blush of the Razorbacks, sorry, Nick Kelso, PATC family member, but Arkansas, I'm not expecting anything. First-year head coach Silverfield. So Utah at home should be able to beat up on the Razorbacks. Utah State, Iowa State on the road. First Big 12 game of the season on the road, Ames, Iowa. Then they go at home against Kansas, on the road, Colorado, at home against Houston. On the road to Cincinnati, at home against BYU. On the road, Arizona. On the road, TCU. Then at home against West Virginia. RFR Mac. Thank you, Utah Ute. Appreciate it. Look at the home games. For the Utah Utes. Houston, BYU. And you guys know how good. I mean, I think I got Houston as number 4 in the Big 12 this year. I think they're going to be very good. Amari Thomas, the great wide receiver, Connor Wegman. I think the Houston Cougars are going to have a very good defense this year. So it is vitally important, in my opinion, that Utah has that game at home and then has the BYU game at home. That's going to be a big advantage for Utah. Big advantage. Now, they do play on the road against Arizona, on the road against TCU. So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for Utah, but what I would consider their 2 biggest games, and they don't play the Red Raiders, their 2 biggest games are at home. So that is worth a lot, in my opinion. Not enough. I do not have them yet at number 1 or number 2 in the Big 12. I got the Red Raiders at number 1. I've got the BYU Cougars at number 2. Let me show you. If I can find it. The Red Raiders, number 1. This is our way too early order of finish prediction. BYU, number 2. Utah, number 3. And Houston, number 4. And Utah's got Houston and BYU at home. And you're sitting there with the Red Raiders. Will Hammond most likely is going to be your quarterback. So there is an opportunity for the Utes. there is an opportunity for the, yeah, they lost some of their offensive line, great offensive linemen. We're going to do, once again, with every one of these teams, this was our 27th or 28th spotlight. During the month of July and August, we're going to do our official final prediction of order of finish prediction. And we'll talk more about the line play of all these teams and the new offensive coordinator and, of course, the new coach of Utah and all that other stuff we got to talk about. But this is what we like to do. We do the spotlight. We put the spotlight on the top 5 players or impactful or interesting players. We'll look at the schedule, and then we'll take it on more as the off season goes on. The Utah Utes. This has been your spotlight of the Utah Utes. Very interesting team. They're going to be in contention. They're going to be in strong contention for the Big 12 championship game. And I guess, I'm being told that the Utah Utes regular season would devalue if we were talking about a 2014 playoff. That somehow these games would not matter as much because Utah would not be concerned about their seeding or if they're going to play at Salt Lake City or if they would have to go on the road. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Okay, we're going to go to your phone calls. I talked longer than I'd wanted to. Once again, I did it again. I talked way longer than I wanted to. We've got Mark, and I've never been able to pronounce your last name, but I know you are a West Virginia Mountaineer. Mark was with me during the breaking of the story of USC in 2022. Mark was one of those people that knew way before 99.99% of the people what was going on. So Mark was a very good friend of mine. Thank you, Mark, for dropping on in. Hi, Greg. This chapter, realignment, which began with Penn State moving to the Big Ten nearly 40 years ago, is about to come to the end. We are in the end game. Yeah, first of all, I don't think anything is imminent. Are we approaching the end game? Possibly. Now, I don't think realignment is ever going to sleep. I think there might be a day, Mark, that we start. I don't think, unless college football at the highest levels turns into some sort of NFL stability, regionality, all under one umbrella, something like a Super League, maybe then realignment will come to an end. But if we don't get that, I don't think realignment is ever going to sleep. Expansion, fracture, contraction, that's my thoughts on it. But thank you, Mark. Thank you for the $10 holler. I do agree with you that, see, I don't know if this wave, Mark, I don't know if we're going to get one big wave or it's going to get split into two. That's another thing that I do not know. But yes, end game, I can understand why you're saying that. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the $10 holler. Very much appreciate it. Studzilla. $5 holler. I'm not a Utah fan, but I love when Greg brings them up. The chat gets riled up so easily about Utah. Must be a lot of jealous BYU fans in here. I do want to say that I do not bring Utah up as a Big Ten expansion candidate to rile anybody up. I bring Utah up as a Big Ten expansion candidate because they are a Big Ten expansion candidate. And I do not have Utah, like my prediction, which is not a report. My prediction, I do not have Utah going to the Big Ten. but it's just a prediction, not a report. Nothing is imminent. So I don't go all, I mean, I'm not saying, but I am saying that Utah, we know, you take whatever you want to take from us, but we know that Utah is on the candidates list. Absolutely. But if we do not say it to rile anybody up, we say it because we believe absolutely it's 100% true, and this comes from more than one impeccable source. So, all right. Thank you, Studzilla. Thank you so much for the $5 holler. We've got RFR Mac. Yes, I know, the wide receiver room. The wide receiver room is supposed to be better this year. Thank you, RFR Mac. I appreciate it. Thank you for the $10 holler. Thank you very much. I mean, Utah, Utah's loaded. I could have talked Scooby Davis too, right? I could have talked Scooby Davis. Defensive player. Yeah, I mean, Utah's going to be right in there. The reason why I did not have Utah in the top 2 was Bear Bachmeier is Superman. He's coming back for his second season. Come on. If that guy was not an early enrollee at Provo. Texas Tech, of course, when I made my predictions, Brendan Sorsby was still the quarterback. But that Brendan Sorsby thing has made the Big 12 more wide open. So Utah has got a very good chance to get to the Big 12 championship game. MBM, they are on the Big Ten candidate list behind Stanford, Arizona, Arizona, Colorado, etc. Okay. All right. MBM. Kennedy Maynard, don't be surprised if TCU is better than expected. Okay, let's get to your phone calls here. We're getting to them much later than I thought. My apologies. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. This week is going to be very dramatic. We've been talking, this Cantwell Cruz situation, the bill. I did not laugh. Hold on a second.
Call from
Fred.
Fred, thanks for calling. Can you hold on for just 1 second, please?
Yes.
I did not laugh in anybody's face, Rich Austin. Calm down, sir. Calm down. I did not laugh at anybody. Rich Austin, if you want to defend Utah, that's fine. But I can't have you keep throwing elbows at everybody, okay? Please, Rich, please. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Fred, the floor is yours, sir. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, you're welcome, Greg. Hey, I suppose it could be said that if you can't beat Northern Illinois, you'd have no chance of winning the national championship.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And yet, except for a long pass to Jeremiah Smith, they'd have been driving.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there are upsets. But Texas Tech is a very good team. However good they were, we found out at the end. But they were still a very good team, a great defense. So losing to them was no embarrassment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's what I'm thinking, Greg. I think many of the positions are pretty much solid right now, and we're just kind of talking past each other. We either believe that 24 has a great opportunity for college football, or we think it's the worst thing that was ever been thought about.
Yeah.
But it's all speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know.
Yes,
so,
sir.
I'd like to see, for example, the possibility of, 12 teams for 26. That's locked in. I think Sankey will probably veto going anywhere in 27. But then they go to the 9-game schedule, and they have some teams not make it because of that 9th game. I'd like to see I think there's 3 more years left in the current bowl contract.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see for 27, or for 28, 29, and 30, go to 24. If the talking heads are correct and it's a total dumpster fire, everybody will know it. And we'll never talk about 24 again. The contract ends, we come up with a new contract, and we move it back. But at least it'll give us 3 years of good data to base our speculations, to base our arguments on from experience instead of here's what I think.
Yeah.
I'd like to get on the road and try, and if you and I are wrong, we'll be the first to admit it. But I think it's worth a try. I know the 12 isn't the right number.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. So nobody trusts anybody, Fred.
That's true.
I mean, like the Big Ten would probably acquiesce to the 16-team playoffs for a couple of years, but then they would want it. They would want to have the 24-team playoff tried out, right?
I would say that'd be their position. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like I say, I like OPD Don said, and he said it better than I did. The 2014 playoff will probably happen when the right people get paid the right money. If there's enough money out there for it to happen, it probably will happen.
Well, and as you've said many times, the world has changed in college football.
Yes, it has.
It's a paid system now. We're paying players. It's going to cost $30, $40, $50 million, and so things are going to have to change. The question is, what do they change to? I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to try 24. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I really want to try.
I mean,
yeah.
I agree with you. I try to imagine how teams at the end would not be trying to win. If you're trying to make that third 8, that bottom 8, you're trying like crazy to get in. If you're in that if you're currently in the third 8, you're at risk of dropping out, and you might have a chance of moving up where you might get a home game. So you're going to try there. If you're in the middle 8, you have a chance to get a bye in a home game if you can move up.
Yeah.
You lose the home game. I mean, there's just so many incentives that are obvious.
One loss or one win can slide you out of one of those into the other one, right? So
absolutely.
Now the only like an 11-0 Alabama, right? And they're going to be number 1 in the SEC. They're going to be number 1 through number 8. And they're going to play Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Does that make that game less valuable in the 2014 playoffs because Alabama is assured that they're going to be one of the top 8 seeds? I can give that.
No.
I can say yes. You're probably correct. That game probably, even though it's a rivalry game, is probably going to be a little less valuable in that scenario. But again, I think there's more games that become more valuable.
Well, here's what I can see a possibility. Let's say Ohio State's got it; they're going to be guaranteed the top 8, and they're playing Michigan, and maybe running back Bo Jackson has been nicked up, and he could go if he needs to go. They may not sit him because they still think they can win without him. So some players may sit,
Yeah.
but in a true rivalry game, you're not going to pass on that game. You're not going to say, go ahead, team, just sit everybody so we know they're healthy next week or the week after. I mean, if it's a true rivalry game, I don't care when it's played, where it's played, you're going to try and win the game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
One other thing, and then I'm done for today.
Yeah.
And this is going on a subject you're going to be talking about another time, but this going in a silo, and I hear you say, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
My first thing that I think about is that there's going to have to be a very difficult conversation between Greg Sankey and two of Lane Kiffin's team, Mississippi and LSU. If we set the cap at $60 million, are you going to keep it under $60 million? And are you prepared to be receiving a punishment from the SEC if you don't? Because if you can't do it within your own house, then why go to a silo anyways?
Yeah, if you can't govern, if people are not going to go by the rules, the only other reason you go into this silo is for antitrust violation protection. So there's still some incentive to go in the silo, but eventually it's not going to work because if it's not governable, it's not governable, right? People aren't going to follow the rules.
If you want to go 5 for 5, and one of your teams is saying no, we're not going to do that, you have to do something about that.
Yeah.
You can't say it's a suggestion,
Yeah.
it's a guideline. No.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in our league, if you're going to be a part of this conference,
Yeah.
then you have to agree to do that. And so, that's going to be a difficult conversation because,
Yeah.
and it'll be difficult to mete out the punishment because you
Yeah.
don't want to hurt your own league.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go in a silo, it has to mean something.
Yeah.
So, all right, Greg, thank you. You have a great week.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Great call. Absolutely.
Take care.
Great call. Thank you, Fred.
Bye.
Bye. We got Christopher Hooter. $5 holla.
From
Wild Ute.
Wild you, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Of course.
I appreciate it. We've got a super chat, and then I just want to hit a little bit of a breaking news item here, okay? So can you hold on a minute?
I'll go on mute. Yeah, I'll just go on mute for a few minutes.
Okay, I appreciate it. Christopher Hooter, so we really want to go from the best 2 to 4. Either way, every game mattered. Not every game mattered in a 2 to 14 playoffs. Florida State went 13-0. None of their games mattered, or 13-0. None of their games mattered in that 14 playoffs. And a lot of us games don't matter because we're eliminated 2 weeks into the season. So I would disagree with that. Every game mattered in the 2 or 14 playoffs. To 12, where most games mattered, to 24 with the 4-loss mulligan factor. Christopher Hooter, the answer is yes, yes, and yes. Let's go. Let's go. Mulligan college football playoff format. The Army of 24. Let's go. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. I respect your opinion, of course. You are in the majority. You're definitely in the majority. Thank you so very much. We've got breaking news. Ladies and gentlemen. Another item that we're going to have to cover this week. We've been talking about how the next couple of weeks, college football, dramatic days ahead, the college football jungle. Correct? Well, there's going to be another slice of life that we're going to have to cover next week. Breaking news. President Donald Trump just put this up on his whatever social media thing he's got over there. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. President Donald Trump is walking next to who? Take a look at that. Take a look at that. What does that indicate for you all? What does that indicate for you all? We're getting more videos this week, and we're getting the doozies. We're getting the doozies. Buckle up. Brace for impact. Wow, Jude, are you there, sir?
I am. Who's Trump walking with? I'm sorry, I'm not watching him.
He was walking with an alien. He was walking with an alien. We're getting more videos this coming week. Buckle up. Wow, Jude, the floor is yours. Let's go.
Let's go. Hey, the spotlight, good spotlight. There's a lot of optimism in Salt Lake City about this Utes team, Greg. And there's obviously a ton of change that happened with Whittingham leaving and everything, but this was where the Utes wanted to go. That's what the strategy has been for many years, to put Morgan Scally in place.
Yep.
Keeping Dampier and Ficklin was a huge hurdle that got done, and that's the swing factor for this season and everything. And amongst the insiders for Utah and stuff, there's a ton of optimism, especially amongst Ficklin, Dampier, the skill position players, the wide receiver units. I'm not kidding you, Greg. It's the best the Utes have ever had. Depth-wise, quality-wise, there are a bunch of players, and that's not in traditional Utah football. It's usually running between the tackles in this new era, but it's loaded. The line's going to tell everything, though, especially the interior offensive line, the interior defensive line. There were some big hemorrhages coming last year, gashes at the end of the season and stuff to put the Utes out of contention. But look, it's going to come down to the BYU game, the Houston game, and the Arizona game for the season. You have to have the tiebreakers. This Big 12 season's coming down to tiebreakers. I'm telling you, it's going to be Houston, BYU, Texas Tech, and Utah are going to be in that, and you'll just have to see how the tiebreakers go. I think the Utes split Houston and BYU, and I think that they probably eat a loss because right after the game versus BYU, you're going on the road at Arizona. Utah, for whatever reason, has the hardest time beating the Arizona Wildcats in football down there in Tucson. So we're looking probably at a loss. So you have to get either one of the BYU or Houston games, and you've got to get BYU. If you want to get to the playoff, if you want to make the championship, you've got to win the Holy War. It's been 3 consecutive losses. It's been a long time. It's had Rice Eccles. Its time is now to get it done. So it's a huge season, big-time season. There are different expectations. It seems like nationally, a lot of people are more high on the Utes and what they have going on internally in the program. Super optimistic. Seems like in Big 12 circles, a lot of Big 12 fan bases have kind of wrote the Utes off because Whittingham's gone, which is kind of a weird disconnect. But look, the Big 12's got a bunch of good teams. It's going to be a battle this year. I'm looking forward to the season.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about you, so one of the look, you got a new head coach, okay? You got a new head coach, so you don't know how Morgan Scally is going to work. I mean, that's a question mark. I mean, you might respect the guy, you might think he's going to do a great job, but he's stepping in at a new spot, and that is one thing that Kalani Sitake. He's been there. He's done it. Joy McGuire finally had a very successful season last year. And Willie Fritz has had a great career. Old guy. He's been in the spot. This is Morgan Scally now. He's just climbing into the cockpit, right? So that is one thing that, makes me a little hesitant about Utah. Well, how would you answer that?
I think it's more of a Ryan Day situation with Urban Meyer. People realize and stuff. I don't think the coverage barren at all. The Utes lost a few players in the portal, but a couple of those players were on the defensive line that was getting absolutely gashed. And it wasn't nearly as bad at the portal losses as I would have expected with all the stuff that shook out with Whittingham and Michigan. You lost 3 or 4 players over to Michigan. That's it, though. I would have thought that it would have been 30, whoever they wanted. So it's not, in my perspective, it's not nearly as bad as a lot of people are making it. And this has been a strategic move for a long time. Morgan Scally's been the coach in waiting for 5, 6, 7 years. And like, in the admin felt so strong about this, they pushed Whittingham out because this was, and like, and Greg, I don't think I've talked to you about this too, but like one of the reasons for that too is like Scally's very connected to like the boosters at Utah. Mm-hmm. He's actually related to one of the biggest boosters in the program. And that booster was putting a ton of pressure on the Utes to make that move. And so, like, you know, NIL supports, it's looking good with this new private capital deal that's basically they're kind of on the borderline of getting done. It's going to get done still. Like, there's a lot of optimism, but you've got to win this year. Because next year's 2027 schedule is insane for Utah. You've got Tech, you've got Miami, you're in Provo. It's insane. So you've got to get it done this year with this opportunity.
Now that BYU team, I mean, they're stacked. Okay, they're stacked as well. We haven't done the spotlight on the Red Raiders, but they're bringing a lot of guys. Quentin Joyner, the running back, should be healthy this year. He got injured, transfer from USC. They're going to have a stacked running backfield. But you know the Will Hammond the Brendan Sorsby, Will Hammond situation. Wild Ute, good luck to you. It's going to be dramatic. Either way, it's going to be dramatic.
Absolutely, Greg. Take care, my man.
You got it. Appreciate it. Beautiful call, sir. Absolutely beautiful call. That is Wild Ute College Football Mafia Show. Nathan Brown, Mohr After Dark, Daniel Gygax. Beautiful show. Absolutely beautiful college football YouTube channel. There's a bunch of geniuses on that show. There is Wild Ute, there's Nathan Brown, there's Daniel Gygax, Sergeant Pickles, Becky Go Huskies, and then they have one guy who isn't quite the genius of the rest of them, but they put up with him, and that is Mohr After Dark. $5 holler. Greg is so cold. He has the exact posture of a Victorian orphan staring at a bakery window. I tell you, these super chats.
From
Rick, can you hold on for a moment, please?
You bet.
I appreciate it. See, I don't know what the Victorian orphan looking at a bit. These super chats are getting to be quite intellectual, okay? Highfalutin. I love the creativiness. I love all that stuff. But some of this stuff is, I don't understand half of them anymore. You guys are coming at me with all this Victorian orphan. I don't know what that statue looks like. I have no idea. I didn't go, I skipped those classes, especially in college. And we didn't have that stuff in St. Cloud State University, the home of Mohr After Dark, St. Cloud University, the home of Ole Anderson, who did not graduate there. He got kicked out. But anyways, Mohr After Dark, thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciated, sir. Thank you so very much. Rick, the floor is yours. What's going on, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing some research on Senator Cantwell, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but in September of last year, she was sponsoring the SAFE Act, right?
Sure.
And then 3 months later, in December of last year, she's sponsoring the Hustle Act. You remember the Hustle Act?
No, I don't really keep track of that. I'll keep track of the alien stuff, but I don't keep track of the real.
This is college football. This is helping undergraduate students thrive with long-term earnings.
Got it. Okay.
And then we got her 3 months later, in March of this year. She's got the Competitiveness Act. Remember that one?
Possibly.
Oh,
None
that
of
was
these
with
passed, right?
That was the one with her and Eric Schmidt.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yes.
Unlocking the collective media deals.
Got it.
How did those three go?
None of those passed, right?
Okay. And tomorrow, she and Ted Cruz are getting together for try number 4, 3 months later.
Yep. Yep.
I'll ask. Okay, so now we understand what's going on and who's doing this. Now let me ask you one question, and then you can take another call. She and Cantwell, let's say hypothetically, get this bill passed. They put it on the floor tomorrow, and it looks like it's on its way to becoming passed. In a week from now, 8 days from now, the SEC says, no, we're going into a silo. And a few days later, the Big Ten says, yeah, we're going into a silo too. But that bill is going to keep on going right through, right?
Yeah.
And all the other conferences, the Big 12 and the ACC and the MAC and the Sun Belt and the Mountain West, they're all going to get together and pool their money, right?
They will be allowed to, yes.
Well, they've already approved it. Their commissioners have already signed off on it.
Yeah, but they can't do it because of the laws of the land. The Broadcasting Act of 1961 hasn't been flipped yet. This bill would do that. It would make it optional. They could do that, but they have to wait for this bill to pass.
They'd have to wait for the bill to pass.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it would still go down the path to getting passed without the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah.
And they'd all be happy. The Big 12 would be just happy, and the ACC would be real happy, sharing their money with the MAC and the Mountain West and the Sun Belt and Conference USA.
Where it would be optional. So the Big 12 ain't going to be sharing their with the MAC, and ACC's not going to be sharing it with the Sun Belt. And that kind of shows you the seriousness of all that. The Big Ten, the SEC's not going to share it with the Big 12, the ACC. And if they're not in it, the ACC and the Big 12 are not going to share it with the MAC or the Sun Belt. But the Big 12 and the ACC, they could get together. That might be interesting.
Well, that's pretty much the way it's going to turn out, right? Because the SEC and the Big Ten aren't going to go for this.
I would agree. I would agree. We're going to find out real quick, I think. Possibly by Monday morning. Definitely by the end of the week.
What could possibly happen that would make the ACC, that could make the Big Ten or the SEC agree?
Well, maybe it doesn't veer that. Now I'm just putting up an option. Maybe it doesn't veer that much off of the SCORE Act. Maybe the Broadcasting Act of 1961, the reform of it, only makes it optional, not mandatory. And maybe the Big Ten, the SEC says, okay, that's fine. We'll acquiesce to that. Maybe the transfer portal stuff maybe not be too... the odds are against it, sir. The odds are against that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to support this, because if they would have, I think they would have already done it, but we don't know for sure. Right? We're gonna know, guys. We're gonna know probably Monday morning, tomorrow morning, or sometime this week.
And it basically comes down to either it does or does not include revenue sharing.
Oh, it probably comes down to there's probably there's probably a fistful of issues like the cap. Where is the cap? What's the number? Where are you guys going to put it? Is it going to be different for different sports? What about Title IX? What do they do with that? And the governance piece. What is the governance piece looking like in this bill? Who governs all of this? So I think there's a fistful of issues.
So you think that could happen and have revenue sharing excluded from it?
I think if I had a guess, and it's only a guess, I would say the media revenue sharing, maybe it will be optional pooling, and maybe it goes only to that part of it. But if it goes any further than that, then the SEC and the Big Ten are going to walk away. So,
right, and optional pooling is kind of like the Big 12's venture capital deal.
Yeah.
How many are signing up for that?
So far, none. Yep.
Thanks for taking the call.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it, Rick. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate the phone call. Like always, we're going to go to some super chats here. Making sure I don't miss anything. Thank you, Mohr, and I appreciate the $5 holler. We've got Jacoba Cat. Jacoba Cat, the Iowa Hawkeye. The Iowa Hawkeye. We went from a Buckeye to a Hawkeye. Holy smokes. I do declare aliens are hot and into human guys. Thank you, Jacoba Cat. I appreciate that comment. Appreciate the $2 holler. Thank you very much. We've got another super chat from the Evil Badger. We got an I do declare. We've got an I do declare. I do declare Wisconsin will have a 1,000-yard running back. It's not going to be Darian Dupree. It's not going to be Abu Sama. Colton Joseph is going to run that football too much for a running back to get 1,000 yards. I'm probably going to have to put this as a 3-pointer or a 4-pointer when it comes to the valuation, Evil Badger. I appreciate it, and I do declare we are going to book it in, and I think it's number 65. It's going to be number 65 in our I do declare predictions. The 65th prediction, 65th I do declare. Thank you, Evil Badger. I appreciate it so very much. And we'll make sure we get that booked in, and we'll get it updated for tomorrow's live show. Thank you, Eva Badger. Thank you very much. We've got Jacoba Cat. The Grace, Greg, and Ryan Willie show negates their fandom. Absolutely not. It does not negate the fandom. We just treat each other like humans. We're friends. And I got a lot of Badger friends. Jeff Olson, a dear friend of mine who goes in the chat room, very close friend, Badger fan. That does not negate our fandom. The Badgers are evil, but Ryan, Willie, Jeff Olson, the rest of you Badgers, very good people, very good people. Thank you for the $2 holler, Jacoba Cat. I appreciate it. God made Greg a Gopher fan instead of me because his optimism is ungrounded enough to withstand the November unravelings. I do declare Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Iowa to the CFP. Thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it very much. We're not even going to book that one because that's off the charts. But thank you, Jacoba Cat. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you very much. Want to thank the phone calls. I do want to thank Kenneth Maynor, OPD Don, Helmer Hennison, OPD Don for that massive super chat. Thank you very kindly, sir. Helmer Hennison with a bunch of super chats. Thank you, sir. Mark, West Virginia Mark, thank you very much. Nice to see you again, Mark. Studzilla, thank you. RFR Mac, thank you very much, Mr. Ute. Christopher Hooter, Purple and Gold, thank you for your support. Mohr After Dark, thank you, my friend. Jacoba Cat, the hot guy. Eva Badger, thank you, guys. Appreciate your generosity. Appreciate you all coming on in on a Sunday evening. Later this evening, 8 o'clock Central Time, an hour and 20 minutes from now, I am going to be popping up on the Big Ten Huddle Show YouTube channel. So go catch us at Big Ten Huddle. I'll be there at 8 o'clock Central Time. Going to be on there for an hour. Catch us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking college football playoffs. We're going to be talking the Big Ten football. It's going to be lots of fun. So I'm going to be coming on YouTube one more time tonight. And I do want to thank the little general, my wife, for all of her support, for giving us the opportunity to have these live shows, videos, episodes, and all that stuff. And I want to thank the little general for those beautiful salmon fish tacos tonight. They were absolutely beautiful. Thank you, honey. I love you. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, y'all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.